how you and your body have partnered to create the life that you have.
I just think it's one component, right? You have your physical body, you have your financial success, you have your relationships. And what I used to think was how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Whether you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. This is Wisdom Stripes. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to take a moment to share something important. The views expressed by my guests are their own, and they may not necessarily reflect mine or those of this platform. My intention with every episode is to create a space where we can explore diverse perspectives, life experiences, and belief systems together. I truly believe that wisdom lives everywhere, and often we find it in the places we least expect, especially in those whose experiences and beliefs are very different from our own. Not every episode will challenge you, but some might, and that's okay. Growth often comes when we allow ourselves to step into discomfort and see the world through someone else's eyes. I also want to share something I heard recently from Oprah Winfrey that really struck a chord with me. She said at a commencement speech, "People all want to know one thing. Was that okay? Did you hear me? Do you see me? Did what I say mean anything to you?" My hope is that you will try to go out and have more face-to-face conversations with people you may disagree with, that you'll have the courage to look others in the eye and hear their point of view, and help make sure that the speed and distance and anonymity of our world doesn't cause us to lose our ability to stand in somebody else's shoes and recognize all that we share as a people. There has to be some way that this darkness can be banished with light. I couldn't agree more with those sentiments spoken by Oprah. These dialogues aren't always easy, but they are so important. My hope is that this episode and all the episodes I share will inspire you to listen a little more closely, reflect a little more deeply, and keep showing up for the conversations that matter most. Thank you for being here with me. It means so much to me that you're part of this journey. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Wisdom Stripes. My name is Meg Tuohey, and in today's episode, we're diving into the world of high performance, mindset mastery, and redefining what's possible in life and business. Our guest today is John Madsen, former NFL player, performance coach, and founder of Suprahuman, Inc., one of the top fitness coaching companies in the world. What makes John's story so extraordinary is that he never played high school football, yet through relentless determination, he fulfilled his childhood dream of playing in the NFL with the Oakland Raiders. John was coached by Urban Meyer at the University of Utah and has since applied his champion mindset beyond sports, guiding elite performers, World Series champions, NFL athletes, top CEOs, and executives towards unlocking their full potential. His work at Suprahuman is all about bridging the gap between physical excellence and personal success. But beneath every achievement lies a powerful journey of discipline, transformation, and wisdom gained along the way. To share his insights on mindset, overcoming limits, and what it truly means to be suprahuman, I'm honored to welcome John Madsen to today's episode. This is Wisdom Stripes, your no-nonsense, fierce fairy godparents turning pain and confusion into clarity and confidence. John, we always start with the same question for our guests. What wisdom would you like a listener to come away with today?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. If there was one piece of wisdom that I would like to insert into everybody is simply, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. I've lived that, and I wish everybody had that same belief. So hopefully we can go to work on that today.
Let's unpack. I would like to start with, how did you understand that it was possible for you to play with Oakland in the NFL when you hadn't played high school or college football?
Yeah, for me, like my childhood revolved around sports. I was one of those kids that was dragging my parents out of the house to practice, or to take me to the batting cage, or to go to practice early. And so sports was what I loved to do. And they didn't have to push me into any of that. That was just from the time I was 5 years old. My earliest memory is me playing t-ball. And so if someone were to ask me what I wanted to do when I grew up, when I was 10 years old, 12 years old, middle school or high school, I always gave the same answer: professional athlete. For me, it never occurred to me, or I was never derailed by the statistics that show, less than 1% of athletes ever make it to that level. I would watch TV and I'd watch the games, and I just saw other human beings playing a sport. And so for me, my belief was, if that person can do it, I can do it too. And that just was, I don't know if, someone helped me with that or if I was born like that, but that was the belief I had. So therefore, that possibility always lived in my mind, regardless of me not playing a high school sport, not playing football in high school, not having a scholarship offer at the end of high school. I just continued to pursue that goal over and over again. And if the door wasn't open for me, if the red carpet wasn't rolled out for me, I'd go and knock. I'd go through that door anyways. And eventually I made that dream happen.
Can you talk to us a little bit, or take us back in time to transitioning from non-NFL player to NFL player? Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, I mean, when I went into high school for the first time, at that point I had played football since I was 10 years old. And when I got to high school, the first thing that we had to do to make the high school team was go through a summer conditioning class. The very first day, we were asked to max out on bench press, squat, deadlift, and power clean. I had never lifted a weight before. Up until that point, I was just playing sports with all the rest of my friends. That day, I went over to the bench press with about 5 of my buddies. We were all going to be sophomores, and there was a bunch of seniors there and bigger kids. And as they were warming up with 25 pounds on each side, which is 95 pounds on an Olympic bar, they all repped it out 3 to 5 times with ease. And so when it was my turn and the person lifted that bar off the bench, the bar came crushing down on my chest. And I thought my sternum was broken, but more than that, my confidence was shattered. And so I looked around, and in that moment, I was like, man, maybe football's not the sport. Maybe it's basketball or baseball. I was tall, I was kind of lanky. And I realized right then and there that I wasn't going to play football that year. It wasn't that I was never going to play football. I planned on playing the next year, but I went home and told my dad that I wasn't going to play. It was a shock to him because I was one of the best players all through Little League. But I was like, this is what happened in the strength training class. I need to get strong before I step on that football field. And so I worked out with my dad for a couple of months. Then they got me a personal trainer with this guy who was a massive strength and conditioning coach. And I worked with that guy for 3 years straight, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m., regardless if I had practice, and went straight to the gym. I fell in love with this idea that I could train my body because I could see the changes in the mirror. I could see the changes in my confidence. And I never went back to football because I fell in love with training so much. But what ended up happening was I stacked on a lot of muscle. I could run a lot faster. I could jump a lot higher. I became a better athlete. And I believed in my mind that I could do it. And so that was my entry point into even deciding to try out for football in college without ever playing high school. If it hadn't have been for that experience with that strength and conditioning coach, there would have been no college career. There would have definitely been no NFL career. So training was like the foundation for me that set my body up for success, but also my mind.
What is your relationship like with your body?
Phenomenal.
Tell me and / everybody else who's listening, maybe some more detail around that, because I have a great relationship with my mind and emotions. I love and appreciate my body, and I don't use my body to its full capacity, half of its capacity. And I imagine there's a lot of listeners out there who don't really live in their body or strengthen it on purpose or stretch it or be in it as a home, which it is. Tell us about what your body relationship with self is like.
Yeah, I mean, I live in reality in the sense that I can look in the mirror and not be pleased with what I see, or I can be like, I respect what I see. And so for me, being really weak and getting embarrassed in the weight room was a huge insecurity at the time. And what most people do when they're faced with an insecurity, they have two options: run away from it. I could have just been like, you know what? Athletics is not for me. I'm going to go this way. But I like to use insecurity as like a point of entry. It's like, I'm insecure about this thing. I'm going to go fix it. And so I wanted to get better at football, but it was more than that. It was a human nature that I think all men have, especially adolescent boys that are going into that 15, 16, 17, 18 years old age range. It's like survival of the fittest is not being the scrawniest and weakest. And so there was like an inherent desire for me to get bigger, to get stronger, to add muscle, and it's never left. And so for me, there's a big vanity play, which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But I believe that most people that are going to the gym want to look a certain way. They're just not willing to admit it. They're like, oh, I want to be more flexible, or I want to, be healthier for my kids, which is a very virtuous reason to do something, but it's usually not a reason that lasts. It's like they'll stop at some point because the desire's not there. For me, that desire like burns in my soul. So I never let it go.
I understand the desire burning in soul thing for a thing that's important to you. I like really get it. I'd love to unpack more because I genuinely have deep interest in the physical. So your body has been a vehicle for a lot of your career success and a lot of your development as a person. And I would say for me, my beautiful brain has done that. And so I have focused in that space in developing that relationship and less so in my body. And I'm just really curious for you how you and your body have partnered to create the life that you have.
I just think it's one component, right? You have your physical body, you have your financial success, you have your relationships. And what I used to think was how you do one thing is how you do everything. But then what I realized is I would go to these 5-star resorts, just got back from Cabo, and guys would be, in the pool area and they'd be wearing their Rolexes or very expensive watches, but they were wearing their t-shirts because they had 50 pounds, 60 pounds, 70 pounds to lose. And I would talk to these people because I was also interested in business. And so when I came up, they're like, oh, I need to get on your program, right? And I had this realization that how you do one thing is not how you do everything, because clearly people were great at business and terrible at their fitness, or they were great at relationships and they were terrible at business. And so I realized that I personally aspire to chase this, how I do everything, how I do one thing is how I do everything. I want to be elite in my body. It's a big desire. I want to be elite in business. I want to be elite as a father and husband. And I think that if you do have that value, then you can live by that principle, but most people don't. Most people are fragmented, good at one thing, terrible at another thing.
Do you have any insight around why you're not like most people?
I have ambition coursing through my veins, and I've had it since I was as long as I could remember. And so I believe that you'll only go as far as your ambition goes. I'm not on any bodybuilding stages with medals around my neck for bodybuilding competitions because I'm not ambitious for fitness past a certain point. I want to be in the top 1%. I want to be proud of the person that, if I take my shirt off and, I'm on the beach with my daughter and my wife snaps a photo, I'm not going like, who is that guy? Like, I'm proud of the reality there. I think that ambition, though, for most people stops way shorter. And I think it stops way shorter in business. I think it stops way shorter in relationships. And so I push that ambition and I look at it as a positive, not a detriment. I think in society, sometimes people want to villainize ambition. It's like, you're too ambitious, you're too much. Why are you so driven? Why can't you just relax? All this stuff. And it's like, well, I'm not living in conflict with myself. I've given myself full permission to let that ambition flow. And that's why I've been able to do what I've done, not only in my body, but also the business.
Well, let's switch to business because you've done such lovely conversations already in the body space. Supra is your baby.
Supra's the baby.
Tell
Yes.
me everything.
Yeah. So I played in the NFL for 3 years. I was 27 years old. I got cut at the end of my third year, had a one-way plane ticket back to Salt Lake City. I was 27 years old. Up until that point, over a 3-year career, I made $1.2 million. After taxes and agent fees and all that stuff, I had about 300 grand in cash in the bank. I remember that number because I remember being in Vegas and swiping my ATM card at a burrito shop and having the receipt come back and it said like 311 grand. I'm like, I came from a very middle-class family, and so I don't think that they ever had 300 grand in their bank account at one time. So on one hand, I was like, that's quite a bit of money. But then I was still kind of living the lifestyle of an NFL player. And so I saw, 300 grand, 290, 260, 200, and it just was this downhill decline until eventually it was zero. But long story short, 2010, I was 27 years old. I was out of the NFL. I thought about what I was going to do next with the next part of my life because I did know that 300 grand wasn't going to take me to retirement. I had to do something and I had to figure it out relatively quick. I thought back to my 16-year-old self getting crushed in the weight room. And I had this realization that I was going to be the person that opened up a training facility in Salt Lake City and helped those kids who are just like me. And so I opened up my first training facility, spent about half of that 300 grand on turf, on all the equipment, signing a 5-year lease, all this stuff. Knew nothing about business. I remember telling people that I was going to do this, and they were like, well, are you going to be an S Corp or an LLC? I'm like, what is that? Like, I don't even know what that means, right? I have no idea how to market. I'm just like, I'm going to do this thing. And after 16 months, I had to close those doors because I didn't know how to run a business. I started to get a following and having customers come through the door, but I was training half the people for free. I was, there was no structure to the business. And so I was forced to shut that down and then just become a personal trainer in one of my friends' gym until all their members got mad that I had so many people training in the gym. So then I went to a little warehouse type spot and I kept making these little jumps. But from 2010 to 2019, I was really mediocre at business. There was multiple times that I thought I chose the wrong career. I was very fulfilled in what I was doing. However, I remember on my 36th birthday, I had to take a $20,000 loan out from PayPal to pay my employees, which were only like 2 or 3 of them, and to keep the lights on. And that was 2018 or so. And so I had been in business since 2010. It took me 10 years to make that first $1 million year. And so I think I'm a slow learner. And then I eventually transitioned from an on-person gym, Salt Lake City, to fully online, and Suprahuman was born around 2020. Supra has a meaning, if you look it up in the dictionary, having powers above and beyond those of an ordinary human. And so it's like this ethos that we're all capable of so much more, and I want to help people tap into that power center. And for me, one of the quickest ways to do it is through the body and then have it translate into other aspects of their lives. That's my entry point.
So now Supra is all online.
All online.
Tell us how it works.
My wife is the CEO. I call myself the chief rainmaker, so my title's CRO. She's a way better CEO than I am, and give her tons of credit for building this baby with me, because without her, it would not be close to what it is today. But we have over 80 employees now. We have over 3,000 members all over the United States. It's complete online one-on-one coaching. We dial in every aspect of a person's fitness, from their training routine to their nutrition plan. Our top-level programs, we're partnered with one of the top medical teams in the United States to optimize blood work and do all that kind of stuff. And it's just really fun for me to see people come in their, in terrible shape. We've had one guy lose almost 200 pounds now. So we get guys that are in very, very, very poor shape. And then we also have guys that have been working out for 10 years and they just wonder why they can't ever get to that elite level. And we take them from mediocre to great. So we have clients, all spectrums of starting points. But what we do really well is we modify our approach to their personal goals and their personal lifestyle. We also have guys that travel 200 days out of the year. It's a lot harder to get fit if you have a demanding business or career where you're on a plane and in airports and trying to eat food on the go than it is for somebody that has all day, all the time in the world to dial in their fitness. And so our coaches are great at modifying every person's approach to fit what fits in their life so that they can do it forever.
Mm-hmm. So the goal is to, that analogy, teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. The goal is to teach a person how to take care of their body so it can last right across their lifetime.
Forever transformation. Because 95% of people, I don't know if that stat is, might be 90%, but most people who lose a significant amount of weight gain it all back over time. And I believe it's because they never learn that the behavior change is obviously important, but it's the identity change that makes it permanent. So a lot of people can change their behavior short term. They go into a doctor's office, doctor says, hey, so-and-so, your blood markers are not looking good. And, you're 50 years old, you got to lose 50 pounds or else. And they're like, oh my God, I want to walk my daughter down the aisle, right? And so they change temporarily. But what happens when people are motivated away from pain is they get away from it enough to stop the behavior change, and then over time they just revert back to where they were. And so if a person really wants to keep that transformation long term, they have to understand that desire is going to drive hunger. So if desire is at the root of this behavior change, desire will drive hunger will drive commitment will drive behavior, and behavior will drive results. So you have to almost rewind it and make a person really in touch with the reason why it's important to them. And if it's a weak reason, they'll get a weak result. And so the automation of that behavior, eventually, if a person does it long enough, will just seep into their identity. I'm a fit person. I just do what fit people do. I don't have to think about it much. Most of the decisions that I make every day, from the food, even if I have to get something on the go, DoorDash or whatever, it's a much better decision than most people make. Most people will take their kids to football practice or baseball practice. It'll get to be 7 o'clock at night. There's all these different options, but they'll go to In-N-Out Burger and just be like, you know what? I'll get back on it tomorrow. But it's all of those little tiny decisions that are almost automatic because they don't see themselves as a fit person. I don't make those decisions, and the people that go through our program and actually transform forever, they have a new identity. And so those decisions become more like the way that I would make a decision. So I always tell them, it's like, you have to think to yourself, what would Superhuman John do? Superhuman John would make a different decision than ordinary John. Superhuman Karen would make a much better decision than ordinary Karen. So you have to think from a different elevation in those decisions. And that's real discipline.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Curious question for you. As you're thinking about body and identity and fitness and strength and that kind of whole package, I'm really wondering what your position or take is on weight loss drugs versus this process that you've designed.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to go into the details, but I was just on with the medical team, and they were talking to the elite members of our community about this. And it is, from a doctor's perspective, he's like, if a person is in terrible, terrible, terrible shape and they need to make changes fairly quickly, he has no problem putting someone on one of those drugs temporarily, call it 3 months, kickstart the process. But he's going to get them off of it very quickly. And so I think that these drugs are being flooded in the marketplace as just another quick fix. You take the drug, you can eat whatever you want. You don't have an appetite like you used to. It solves this issue. But some of the major side effects against it is most people lose a lot of muscle mass too. And so these people who are not educated, who just want to lose weight quick, can lose the weight, but they're always going to be a prisoner to that drug. And as soon as they go off that drug, old habits come back. They never learned anything. Bam, they gain all the weight back and more. And so it's like being on that drug long term, right? Who knows what the effects are going to be down the road. And they never learned the right process to feed their body. And so it's just a disaster waiting to happen unless it's supervised by a medical professional that has their best interest, right? It's like for this medical team, it's like, hey, 3 months, we can do it. We're going to wean you off and we're going to teach you as we're doing this so that you can succeed for the rest of your life. But I think it's going to be a tragedy for a lot of people. And it's just getting more popular. So I don't know if we can stop the momentum at this point.
It does seem like that.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when I think about those types of products, there is a cohort of famous celebrities who admittedly do take those drugs, and they have teeny tiny bodies. You would think they also have access to nutritionists, personal trainers. They would have access to the world that you have made accessible online, right? So why would they need to do both things? What's the purpose of putting both those things together? Why not just do it without that drug or that type of drug?
2 things. Most people can be bought and they'll sell their soul for money. And so a lot of these celebrities for a paycheck will say whatever you want them to say. They don't care.
Right.
Number 2, it's easier to take a pill than it is to do the work. And so it's kind of this dual-sided thing where if you strike a check big enough for most people in this world, they'll say whatever and promote whatever. And then also human nature is it's easier to take a pill than wake up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. and prepare your meals and take an extra, hour a day to think about what you're putting in your body. So you have instant gratification of the pill and greed working against you and everybody else for that matter.
I think I heard you say that you're a parent. Yes. Being a parent with your children, as they hit their teens, as they hit their early adulthood, how do you feel about their relationship with their body versus the media and the experience that I think we have in terms of pressure, in terms of relentless standards of beauty and fitness?
I think that so this is a tough subject, right? My daughter's 7, and so she really hasn't. She's very active kid. She's kind of got the ectomorph body like me, like taller. So she looks like a fit little kid out there, right? And it's sad because at birthday parties, like not all of her friends are like that, right? And it's like they're only 7, and you can already see like if this does not get fixed at a certain point, it's not going to look good. But on one hand, you have to make people understand that people come in all shapes and sizes, right? Like someone can look at me and be like, I want to look like John. It's like, well, you're not 6'5", right? It's not realistic. Or there's different body types. However, I think that what we don't want to do is lose touch with reality, because a couple years ago, there was like Cosmo magazine with a bunch of very obese women, and the headline was "This is healthy," and Lizzo was kind of like the spokesperson. And so the purpose of that is trying to teach people that you should love your body no matter what, which I agree with. But there's also a reality check that needs to happen where it's like obesity is not healthy, and promoting that as healthy and normal is going to do more harm to society than being real and saying, look, you don't have to be a stick figure Victoria's Secret model. However, being 100 pounds overweight is not the goal. And I think that you have 2 extremes that are pulling on opposite ends of that rope. And common sense for most people is somewhere in the middle. Love yourself no matter what, but be your best self no matter what. And that's where the truth is for me.
Perhaps loving yourself is in the doing. Love is a verb, right?
Yep.
So it's in the doing of the taking care of the strength and type of food your body eats, how well it sleeps, how well rested it is, and how well stretched it is in terms of pushing for things, because that to me feels like a healthy relationship with the body. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that fundamentally a person that really cares about themselves are going to care about the quality of stuff they put in their bodies. it's rare that you're going to find somebody that really, really, really loves themselves, but drinks every single night, right? Or eats fast food every single night. It's like those things are like coping mechanisms for something that is, under the surface. Somebody that is very happy and loves their life and wants to live for as long as they possibly can inherently are going to take care of their bodies in ways that showcase that love. And so that's where I think a real honest conversation has to happen with a lot of people is, like you said, love is a verb. How you treat your body is showcasing whether or not you actually love yourself or you're just saying it.
Hey there, Meg Tuohey here with a quick and exciting announcement. As a psychologist, coach, and founder of the Wisdom Lab, I've had the privilege of helping thousands of individuals break free from the vicious cycles holding them back and tap into their infinite inner wisdom. If you're tired of feeling unheard, unseen, and stuck in the same old struggles, the Wisdom Lab is the breakthrough you've been yearning for. This on-demand program guides you through a powerful process to shatter emotional barriers, overcome deep-rooted blocks, and experience the profound transformation you deserve. In just 4 hours, you'll gain the tools and insights to revolutionize your life from the inside out. Want to learn more? Click or tap the link in the show notes for all the details. Okay, now back to the episode. I've been watching a surgeon out of Texas who is an aesthetic surgeon, and he does this thing where he gets someone off camera as like this thing and this thing and this thing rated out of 10 in terms of how useful it is for actual anti-aging or what have you. And it's been really super fun because sometimes he'll be all like, that's a 7, that's a 9, that's a 10, that's a 3,000. And I really like watching him. So I'm curious for you. I can't list all of the things, but what would you say are the things, let's say 3 to 5 things that are a 10 or a 3,000 out of 10 that move the needle in terms of taking care of our body?
I'll talk about it from an aesthetic standpoint first,
Okay.
which is the way you want to look.
Yeah.
There's essentially 3 things that are going to drive that. Number 1 is how much food, not just what you eat, but how much of what you eat. And so most people say, John, what should I eat? I want a 6-pack. It's not just the types of food, it's the quantities of those foods as well. So I'm talking about macronutrients, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, and overall calories. Going to be very important to hit those macro targets.
Yeah.
Also, you want food quality to be good because you want to absolutely maximize the micronutrients of with all the food that you eat. So if you want to look a certain way, you can't get around that fact. Number 2 is your activity level. So are you sedentary? Are you getting 3,000 steps a day? So for our program, we have like a baseline. Some people have higher goals, but usually we're trying to reach for 10,000 steps a day. That means you're active enough. For some people that have a job where they're sitting on a computer all day, that means that you might have to get out and walk for 45 minutes. And that's not really considered a workout. That's just like making sure your activity level is of somebody that's not sedentary. And then the third thing is the way you train, resistance training, right? You want to train in a way that's progressive so that you can build muscle and ultimately you start building an engine that is helping you with your goals instead of hurting you. So the quantity and quality of your food, getting 10,000 steps a day, and making sure that your training program is set up in a way that's conducive to you getting the look that you really want to get. Now, anti-aging and, if you want to get into longevity, there's all types of things out there. You could get as complex as, all the different types of peptides, all the different types of, stuff from a medical standpoint to optimize blood work. But I think the things that are free, that are often overlooked, are probably the most important, which is, did you get enough sleep? Are you sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day? See, everybody wants to go find the best nootropic. It's like, I want my brain to work better. Well, if you're only sleeping 4 hours or 6 hours, try sleeping 8, and it's going to be the most powerful nootropic you've ever had. So sleep is free. You just got to maximize it. Sunlight. Are you getting out in the sun? Yes or no? Easy out here in Scottsdale. It's sunny 350 days out of the year. So, I make it a point to get out into the sun, make sure I get that natural vitamin D. And then number 3 is hydration. It's like all of those things all of those things are cheap or free. And people want to, go get in a cold plunge or,
Mm-hmm.
Go get in a red light bed or, go get all these injections. Well, if you're not doing the foundation, then you're not really doing the most important work. And so once again, it goes back to people just wanting the easier way when the fundamentals are right in their face. And if they understand that, they're going to be healthier than most people.
Mm. I'm curious, if you were starting from scratch with somebody who can do 3,000 steps a day, hasn't built that next level of training to get to the 10,000, and has none of those things in place, what's a straightforward way that any listener starting with a low baseline can get started? How do they structure their day to make the most of that?
First of all, they got to want it. They got to want to
Mm.
change,
Yeah.
because if they don't, nothing's going to change. But for example, the guy that's lost over 180 pounds now,
Mm.
he obviously couldn't do the workouts that he's doing today 2.5 years later. He had to start with just basic stuff. If someone's getting 3,000 steps a day and it hurts to get off this couch and to get those steps, the goal would be to increase incrementally. It's like
Mm.
4,000 for a week, 5,000 for a week, just very progressive, right? Very progressive. But again, at the end of the day, the person has to want it. If
Mm.
that guy didn't want it and want it fairly badly, he would have quit
Mm.
way too soon.
Mm.
And so it could be, getting those steps. If somebody hasn't worked out in 10 years and they're wildly out of shape, they could do modified push-ups and start with a set of 10.
Mm.
And then the next week they could do a set of 15, and the next week a set of 20. The coolest thing about the human body is it adapts very easily. And so you can quickly see how your body will go from 3,000 to 5,000, or go from being able to do 10 push-ups to 20 push-ups, and eventually being able to add a couple sets. And so I think sometimes people, if they're in terrible shape, they just get overwhelmed because maybe they've gotten into good shape and they've fallen out of shape 10 different times, or maybe they think that goal is just so far out there that it's not worth it, or they can't do it, or they don't want to put the effort in. And so I think that you got to bring the goalpost in for some people. It's very important for them to have that ultimate goal and want it, but also this realistic goal for today, this realistic goal for this week, this realistic goal for this month.
So it sounds like an on-ramp. You
Yeah.
need a way to get into the freeway that allows you to start to build those bigger things. Sometimes just getting started, it feels overwhelming. Yeah.
It's like if you were stuck in a car and it was pitch black, there was no starlight, no moonlight, right?
Mm.
You're in your car and it's in park, no headlights. And it's like you're terrified to move the car because you can't see anything. And you're just like, I can't move because I can't see, right? Or if you flip the headlights on, all of a sudden you can see 10 yards ahead. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, I could drive there, but I don't want to drive more than that because I can't see. It's unknown.
Mm.
All you have to do is take the car out of park, put it in drive, press on the gas, and as you move, the lights move with it. And so the path reveals itself over time. And so most people are just stuck in this car,
Mm.
metaphorically speaking.
Mm.
They're stuck in this car in park, and they're too afraid to move because they can't see beyond the headlights. And it's like, well, nobody can see beyond the headlights. I didn't build a company like we built today by sitting in park, one step in front of the other. You take the losses, you learn. You take the losses, you learn, one foot in front of the other, and eventually you're clear over here, and you're like, man, look how far I've come,
Mm.
because I had the courage to put the car in drive and just go.
Mm.
And most people lack courage.
Mhm. What do you think, or how do you think you've built your courage? How have you cultivated your courage? There it is.
So I build on it from previous. It was really one of the best things that ever happened to me was reaching that childhood dream, which because I did that, it gave me a confidence
Mhm.
that is pretty strong,
Mm.
right? But when I transitioned from that to the business that was failing for 10 years almost, there was multiple times that I wanted to quit, that I didn't know if I could, that I could really do it. And I was at this place where I was stuck, and I had to realize like where that stuckness came from. And I realized it, and I became aware of it, and it set me free. I was terrified of not failure, but what other people would perceive as failure. So I was very concerned about what other people thought.
Mm.
And I think that most people go through life and they think that they're afraid of failure, but they're not really afraid of failure. If they were to really, really think about it, they're afraid of what everybody's going to think, whether it's their family, their high school friends, their college friends, their peers, or whatever. My courage was unlocked when I didn't care if I got embarrassed, if I didn't care how I looked, if I gave myself unapologetic reason to go after my goals and pursue it.
Mm.
And whether I failed or didn't fail didn't matter. Everything was just a learning lesson.
Mm.
And so for for a couple years, I knew what I needed to do to build this business.
Mm.
I knew that I was going to have to put my face on camera.
Mm.
I knew that I was going to have to advertise my face off, but I was just afraid to do it.
Mm.
And so that courage for me was stuck. I realized what I was afraid of. I made the move, and seeing how that, built this business, now it's just something that I don't consider at all. I'm not considering what other people is going to think about, what I do or what I don't do. And it's freeing to feel that way.
It is very freeing. When you say, I think you said, I don't care what people think.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it like a paintbrush that just put paint kind of right across like an arc,
Mm-hmm.
which means you can't see that feedback and you can't see that person. So it's easier to just kind of walk forward in your own direction. That feels simplistic, though. I was wondering, can we unpick the wisdom that sits behind changing the focus away from being afraid of what other people will think and being able to just walk forward anyway?
Yeah. So for me, there's negative emotions tied to what we want, right? So there could be guilt, there could be shame, or fear. Like in my eyes, there's like those three things. There's fear, there's guilt, there's shame. And so a lot of times people want to build a huge business, and a part of them wants to fly private, and a part of them wants to make $1 million, and part of them wants to make $100 million. But they're at war with themselves because, like, admitting that to themselves make them feel like they're greedy. And so they have these constraints in their unconscious that's like, I want this, but I'm guilty. I'd feel guilty of having it, right? What if I bought a Lamborghini and drove up to my, old neighborhood and went to Thanksgiving? What would my parents think? What would my sister think, right? And so a lot of these things go unnoticed. They're operating below the surface. There's all these meanings. There's all these belief systems that are in your unconscious. And so for me, I had to unpack all of those. And when I say give myself unapologetic permission to go after it, I got very clear on what I wanted, my life to look like. And I did the work to remove those negative emotions that were tied to those things, the deep work. And once that happened, it was like the clouds lifted, and it was like I had a freeway to go after what I really wanted. And when I watch people kind of struggle, it's my belief that there's this inner conflict where it's almost like when I had this conflict, it was like I was going down the road with one foot on the gas, but one foot also on the brake. And it's like you try to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake, you're not going anywhere, and you're just wearing yourself out. It's like if you can remove the brake, remove the negative emotions, it's all gas, no brakes. And that's when my business blew up. It was this unapologeticness to go after what I desired. And that's where that ambition came rushing back. It's like, I don't have to suppress it because it might not sound good to another person. It's like, it's what I want though. And it's not what I think I want. It's what I want in my heart. And being able to pursue that is freeing.
Yeah, I can feel it in the description, how open my heart is in response to your energy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Curious, another question. If we look at that ability to not take on other people's perceptions, or maybe to not factor those into what my heart wants to live my life. How does that relate to how does that connect to your relationship with feedback?
It's not that I don't care what anybody in the world thinks. There's people that I care deeply about, and their feedback is, even if I don't like it, it's well received. I care what my wife thinks, right? I care what my daughter thinks.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to seek feedback from people that I wouldn't trade places with. And I'm not saying that I'm disregarding all feedback from any person, but I have to really ask myself where this feedback is coming from, and is that person a living example of it? And then I get to decide what I do with that feedback. I don't have to accept all feedback. I can selectively choose feedback from people that I very much admire and very much respect. But I have to respect whatever they're saying in that domain, right? If they're a person, they're trying to give me feedback about my beliefs about fitness, but they're 50 pounds overweight, I'm going to disregard whatever they say. And because they're not a living example of it. In business, if they want to give me feedback on how I should market better, which, I go to market very directly in my marketing, and there's a ton of people on social media that will type, "This is the worst marketing I've ever seen. This is the dumbest marketing I've ever seen. Whoever's doing your marketing, you should fire that person." And here I am, doing over $4 million a month. And so there's a lot of people that try to give feedback coming from a place of ignorance. And so if I see ignorance in the feedback, I'm getting rid of it. But if I see somebody that's like, "Oh, well, John, that's a cute little $50 million business. I've done $1 billion. I think you should do this." I'd be like, I'm going to listen to that, So I just think that people have so many opinions, and a lot of times it's overwhelming for people. You don't have to listen to everything. But I do agree with you in that feedback is important for growth. And so you just have to be careful where you're getting it from.
Yes. And just because you have it doesn't mean you need to pick it up and do something with. There's a choice point. Like I sort of imagine it like there's 5 pieces of feedback in your DMs and you can be all like, "I'll pick up this bit. That resonates with me. I'm going to work on that bit. And the rest, perhaps I'll leave that."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like that discernment is actually a wisdom stripe.
It is. And it almost has to be earned a little bit, because I remember when I just started my business, or actually not even when I just started it, when I was probably 5 years into it, we were hanging out with probably the most successful husband and wife combo that I had ever met at the time. These guys had a big company. They were making millions of dollars, and they were hanging out with me and my wife, who were new entrepreneurs. And we became friends because we went to a Tony Robbins Business Mastery event, and we were from the same city. And so 2 people connected us there. And I think they saw hunger inside of us and people that were willing to invest in themselves and learn. And so we created a nice friendship. And I remember one time we were sitting over dinner and we were drinking some wine, and they were telling me what I could do to get myself out of this hole. I was just stonewalling them. I remember vividly stonewalling them because I was like, "Oh, you don't understand my industry. That's not how it works in this industry." All these beliefs that were limiting beliefs in possibility. And so I should have taken that feedback back then, but I was too arrogant to do so. And so I think, sometimes you have to come in with some humbleness, especially when in the presence of people that have clearly demonstrated that they have done better than you in a certain area. A lot of times people come into our program, not a lot of times, sometimes they come into our program, pay us, and then be like, "I think we should do it this way." And it's like, "I think you're 50 pounds overweight. And if you knew what to do, you would have already done it. So why not let us show you what to do?" Right. And so I look back to that moment as like a pivotal moment in my evolution. It's like I reached out to them not too long ago, and I'm like, "I remember that time and when I was sitting on your dinner table." And they're like, "I remember that moment too." And it's like I was just an arrogant kid who thought I had all the answers, but was getting crushed by limiting beliefs. And so feedback is something you really have to
Mm.
get discernment about and take it from the right people and then leave the stuff that isn't going to be helpful.
Mm. My next question is slightly connected and might not take us very long to answer. I'm just really curious about trolls in your comments, in your DMs, on your ads, etc. How do you organize those haters, the people who are like, I don't like this, you should do it this way. Don't you know you don't lift the weight that way, you do it this way? Like all of the chitter chatter that's quite negative, harsh, criticizing, contemptuous. How do you organize that type of noise in your world?
That's definitely noisy, especially the way that I advertise. It's a constant, negativity stream. And
Mm.
so on most days, I just it is what it is, and I'm like I don't put too much thought into it. It's been like this for going on 3 years now.
Mm.
And so it's just an ordinary day. Now, sometimes though, the comments will chip away and chip away and chip away and chip away, and then you got to be careful because then you group all people into, something that you want to punch in the face, but can't because people are typing behind a keyboard. And so I realized that anybody who's ever done anything, if you go in their comment section, whether they're celebrities, whether
Mm.
they're, the president of the United States, whether they're a great athlete, I had this realization when I went back to a football game way after I was done playing, where I was sitting in the box and I was watching these people fill into the stadium, and these people had, just loads of terrible food, and they're screaming at the players that they sucked and this and that. And it's like, here they are in the stands. And it's like, you know what? The man in the arena is going to take arrows. And it just comes with part of putting yourself out there. And that's one of the prices of being successful. The more success, you're going to get more people that are going to run their mouths and say a bunch of stuff. And I just started really realizing that it's not really personal attack against me.
Mm.
It's just that people have a real big problem. Not all people, some people have a real big problem with watching other people succeed.
Mm.
They think that, the best way is to cut those people down, but, they're not getting anywhere and I keep moving forward.
Mm.
Not saying it's easy because it is, it does wear on you at certain times. And, most days it's fine. Some days it's like, I want to go at these people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they
Yeah.
wouldn't say it to your face,
Yeah.
that. And I think that's the hard part is like, these are grown adults on Instagram or on social media that are writing nasty comments. And it's like, they probably have kids, and their kids are probably, getting raised in this household where, that's the outlook on life from mom and dad, and they're doing it to other kids in schools. And it's like, it's just sad because we have this social media world that is very positive. We're very connected, but at the same time, it's almost made us equally disconnected. And so all of us are trying to figure out how we're going to utilize something that's going to be in our life for, for as long as I can see forward.
Mm.
Right. And our kids have to go through it. We have to go through it. And people that don't love themselves or love their lives are always going to tear other people down.
Mm. Here. Yes. Agreed. Co-signed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one last question for you. And that question is around the biggest obstacle you've ever overcome. What was it? How did you do it? And who did you grow into after it?
Yeah. The biggest obstacle. I think the biggest obstacle was myself.
Mm.
Me getting in the way of me pursuing that ultimate life.
Mm.
Again, it was the things that I wasn't aware of until I became aware of them. But it was the negative emotions of fear, guilt, and shame around what I ultimately wanted. And until I cleared that, there was no path forward. It was just me ramming my head against the wall for years, wanting to succeed on one hand, but also being afraid of it or shameful of it or guilty of it. And so once that obstacle was removed, it was a clear path.
Mm. It is the understanding of the humanness of us, really. If we think about it, it's fear, it's negative emotion, it's thoughts.
Hmm.
And when we understand that that's universal human experience, that doesn't necessarily have to be something you pay attention to in terms of allowing it to let you go forward or not. You might still need to attend to it from a processing perspective or from an understanding about why it is I'm feeling worried or upset or hurt. But if we can get ourselves around the human, then it's like the road widens
Hmm.
and then anything feels more possible.
Right.
Yeah.
It's being a master of your emotions, right?
Yeah.
Like it's controlling them in a way, not saying that you can control it in a way that I'm never angry or I'm never upset, but it's being aware of those emotions when they hit and being able to steer out of them very quickly. If you walk around life and you have this optimistic, happy, hopeful viewpoint, you're going to see possibility and opportunity everywhere. But if you go through life mad and upset and resentful and hateful, you're going to get met with that in your everyday life. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy in either direction. And so a lot of times people want to change the outcome of their life or the results, but they need to start at that emotional level. It's that emotional control, that state control that will determine everything, because everything is filtered through that emotion. It's like if you're mad, the next 10 things that happen to you, your brain is locked into being mad. If I leave here mad, I go out and I start driving back to work and someone cuts me out, all I'm noticing is everything that's irritating or frustrating. And once in that negative state, it's very hard for people to get out of. But what happens is most people have a personality. Those emotional states have been so constant in their lives that it's actually their personality, and that's how they're filtering everything in their objective reality. And it's like, that was an enlightening moment when I understood that the power you have over your emotional state will dictate the rest of your life. And people who understand it, they live on a different frequency, and there's opportunity always dropping into their laps, and success is inevitable. And the people who don't ever understand it, they're like a leaf just floating in the wind. They're going to end up where they end up. And unfortunately, that's something that I learned way too late, right? If I wish I would have learned that when that should be fundamental teaching in elementary school and all the way up, but it's not. And so we have to go on this journey to get to that point, to understand that we control our reality much more than we think we do. And once the people who know that, it's game on.
That is a wisdom stripe right there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that for sure is. All right, here we are at our last question. Guess what? We're moving outside from here. We're going out onto the patio. It's like twilight, perfect temperature. So you're going to feel super comfortable out there. You've got your favorite drink or two. You can have 2 or 3. You don't have to have
I'll
one.
have one.
Just whatever is good for you, have that.
Right.
We've got our favorite snicky snacks sitting in the middle of us, and there's some chairs with our listeners who are leaning in because they've gotten to know you over this time. And we know that it's the last time we get to be with you in this moment. And we know that there's one last piece of wisdom or advice you'd like to share with us. So we're all very relaxed. Some of us have blankets. Many of us have got slippers on or those comfy, cozy socks. And we're just like very connected. What's your last piece of wisdom or advice for us?
Give yourself permission to win. Permission from yourself. It's not, you can't get it from another person. And my daughter, who's 7, like I'm drilling that into her. Whatever she can believe she can achieve, only she can give herself permission to go get it. And so give yourself permission to win is core value number 1. Anybody that comes into our program, they get a note card. Number 1, the first thing they see from Suprahuman, give yourself permission to win.
I love this so much, and I must ask this. For those who are listening at home who say, yeah, but John, I don't know how to do that. Yeah, but John, you don't understand my context. Yeah, but John, I'm not sure that if you knew me, you'd think that it would be reasonable for me to win. Yeah, but John, I don't know what to do. Oh, yeah, but John, I tried that and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Help us with the yeah buts, the resistance.
I believe there's 3 beliefs in this world. Number 1 is it's not possible. Just not possible. Nobody's done it. There's no evidence of it. It's not possible. Number 2 is it's possible for you, but it's not possible for me. So those people are going, yeah, John, you could do it because you're an NFL player and blah, 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 but I can't do it. I came from this side of the road. I'm this color of skin. I'm, of this economic background, all the things, right? And number 3 would be what's possible for one is possible for all. I live my life in that realm. What's possible for one is possible for all. So everybody watching at this point, from a physical fitness standpoint, we've helped over 6,000 people. So there's an example of somebody just like you in our database. And this is how I break beliefs of people that come in and they give me those buts. I'm like, oh, you travel 200 days of the year. Okay, I got a guy who, is a pilot, same thing. Oh, you're 100 pounds overweight and you have a bad back and you have a bad knee. Okay, cool. Like, we had to modify this guy's program. And it's like, how come this guy could do it? Oh, because that guy had blah, blah, blah. How come this guy could do it? Oh, because, I have 6 kids and he, only has 1. This guy has 6 kids too. And so part of my belief breaking is example after example after example of other people until that belief starts to crumble a little bit. And also knowing that those 3 belief systems exist in all of us. And again, we get to choose which one we adopt. There's 8 billion or so people in this world. This fingerprint right here is one of one. There's not another fingerprint like it. Like, I was created at this time in this opportunity. And so for me to think that I can't do something when I'm one of one is mind blowing. But I realize people do have that belief. And so, hopefully just, maybe me saying this, or maybe you considering that you've always been a person that believes other people can do it, that you can't do it, just shifting that belief to, if one person can do it, I can too, could be life-changing.
If our beautiful listeners are listening and they are moving towards being able to accept this as reality, might they be able to borrow your belief in them until they have their own?
Of course. Coaching is one of the most powerful transformers I've ever personally experienced. I've gotten the chance to play for one of my mentors, Coach Urban Meyer, who is a Hall of Fame college coach. We won a championship when I was at Utah. He transformed me when I didn't have that belief, and he inserted it into me until I did have that belief. And so I think that, me having that experience through coaching is something that absolutely changed my life. And I think coaching, whether it's business coaching or fitness coaching or coaching in sports, is the most powerful thing someone can do if they want to go fast. Michael Jordan had a coach, Kobe Bryant had coaches, Serena Williams had coaches, Tiger Woods had coaches, and they're the best in the world. But yet we have some ordinary Joe thinking that they don't need a coach because they already know what to do. It's like, coaching, if you want to go fast, will take you faster than you've ever considered if you get the right coach.
Agreed. Yeah. I want to share the idea, and forgive me if I get this wrong because I'm not a sporty person, so you might need to correct me. Fair warning.
Okay.
The person that first did the 4-minute mile?
Roger Bannister.
Thank you.
Yep.
Before he did it, it was considered impossible.
Death.
And as soon as he did it?
Multiple people.
This is, I think, the essence of what we're talking about here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It takes that one brave person, like Roger, right? So before that, it's like, it's just not possible. That's really hard for someone to break through, right? Like, I'm not trying to go to Mars like Elon. I'm just trying to build $100 million company, which is very small, and millions of people have done that. So when Roger broke that 4-minute mile, that takes someone with a lot of courage, a lot of guts, a lot of imagination. And I kind of liken it to what Elon's doing with, I want to build a rocket ship and go up to Mars. It's like, I don't think that big. And so most people aren't thinking that big, but everything that they want to do has probably been done, and there's probably evidence of it. In that case, get to work, because what's possible for one is possible for all.
Yes, and on that note, I feel like we've come to a natural conclusion. That was such a joy. Thank you so much for bringing such an open heart to share your wisdom here with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a great time.
Yes. I'd like to thank John Madsen for joining me today on Wisdom Stripes. In today's episode, we explored his incredible journey from defying the odds to play in the NFL to building a global fitness coaching brand and the mindset and discipline that fueled it all. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an update. You can follow John by searching at Suprahuman_John on Instagram. And to stay connected with me, follow at Meg Tuohey Official on Instagram. Thank you for listening to another episode of Wisdom Stripes. I hope you gained a little wisdom today. My name is Meg Tuohey, and this is Wisdom Stripes. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wisdom Stripes. Follow me on at Meg Tuohey Official and leave a comment and review. I'm looking forward to meeting you here next time on Wisdom Stripes.